The tiny house felt more like a cage than a home. Every creak of the floorboards made Lila flinch. Every slammed door made her heart pound faster. Once Ryan had been gentle, a man with dreams and tender words, but now his eyes burned with bitterness. The failure of his business had stripped away not just his fortune but his humanity. Each night, he stumbled home reeking of whiskey and regret, taking out his fury on the only person who still stood by him. Lila's body bore the quiet evidence of her suffering. Faint bruises hidden under oversized sweaters, trembling hands that learned to stay busy, to stay quiet. Her reflection in the cracked mirror was almost unrecognizable. A woman too tired to cry, yet too strong to give up. She would sit by the dim window light, her hand resting protectively over her growing belly, whispering to the life inside her, "You'll never know this pain." At night, she wrote letters she'd never send, tender words to her late mother, the only one who'd ever loved her without condition. "I'll get out someday, Mama," she wrote, folding the paper carefully. "I'll build a life where no one raises their hand at me again." The town lived in uneasy silence, pretending not to hear the chaos that echoed from Lila's small house each night. Windows would flicker with lights when the shouting began, curtains would shift slightly, and then, nothing. No one dared to knock, no one called for help. Ryan's name carried weight. His brother, Marcus, was a wealthy businessman with deep political ties. Together they were untouchable. People feared retaliation more than they feared their own conscience. At the market, whispers followed Lila like a shadow. "She must provoke him," some muttered, unwilling to believe the cruelty they suspected. Others pitied her quietly but chose self-preservation over compassion. Even the local doctor who once treated her wrist accident stopped making house calls after Ryan's warning glare. Lila learned to hide her pain, to mend her own wounds with trembling hands and silent tears. But kindness still found her in small, fragile gestures. Mrs. Clara, the elderly widow from 2 houses down, would quietly place a basket of bread or a warm meal by Lila's doorstep. Once she caught Lila's gaze through the cracked door and whispered, "God doesn't forget the broken child." Those words clung to Lila's heart like a prayer, the only flicker of light in her endless darkness. The storm outside howled like a wounded beast, wind rattling the windows as thunder shook the tiny house. Ryan stumbled in, drenched and furious, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "You ruined me," he shouted, slamming a folder of torn papers onto the table. Another failed deal, another excuse for violence. Lila backed away instinctively, clutching her swollen belly. "Please, Ryan, not tonight," she begged softly, but her trembling voice only fueled his fury. He grabbed a glass from the counter and hurled it across the room. It shattered against the wall inches from her face, shards scattering like tiny daggers across the floor. "You're a curse," he spat. "Ever since you came into my life, everything's gone wrong." His hand struck before she could speak. Once, again. The blows rained down until she fell, her body curling protectively around her stomach. The storm's roar swallowed her cries, the rain outside mingling with the tears on her cheeks. Pain seared through her ribs, but somewhere beneath the agony, she felt a faint flutter. Her baby kicking weakly, reminding her that life still lingered. "Hold on, little one," she whispered through bloodied lips. "Mama's not done yet. I promise, we'll survive this." The days that followed blurred together in a haze of bruises, pain, and silence. Lila moved carefully, tending to her wounds while pretending everything was normal. She had learned to anticipate Ryan's moods, to read danger in his footsteps, to survive by staying invisible. But one morning as she swept the porch, the postman left an envelope, thick, cream-colored, with a golden seal pressed into the flap. Her name, Lila Grant, was written in elegant handwriting she didn't recognize. Her heart pounded as she tore it open. Inside was a single slip of paper, no sender, no signature, just one haunting line written in graceful ink. "Help is on the way. Hold on." For a long moment she just stared. Who could know about her suffering? Who would dare intervene? She folded the note quickly and hid it beneath a loose floorboard, just as Ryan's truck rumbled into the driveway. That night, as he drank until his words slurred, he muttered angrily about debts, about someone coming after him. The name of a powerful man slipped past his lips, but Lila couldn't catch it. Lying awake beside his drunken snoring, she touched her belly and whispered, "Maybe, just maybe, our miracle's finally coming." The distant thump of helicopter blades tore through the sleepy town's quiet afternoon. Curtains fluttered, doors creaked open, and people rushed out to see the source of the noise. No one had ever seen a helicopter land here before, especially not near the old weed-choked airstrip that had been abandoned for years. Dust swirled as the sleek black aircraft touched down, its blades slicing through the air with authority. Lila froze by the window, her hands instinctively moving to her belly. The noise felt like a warning or a promise. Through the cracked glass, she watched figures emerge from the helicopter. The man in front moved with unnerving calm, flanked by 2 security guards. His tailored black suit contrasted starkly with the rust and dirt of the forgotten strip. He reached up, removed his sunglasses, and in that instant the crowd gasped. He looked exactly like Ryan, the same sharp jawline, the same piercing blue eyes, but colder, more composed, radiating the kind of power Ryan could only dream of. The villagers whispered among themselves, their voices trembling with curiosity and fear. "Who is he?" an old man muttered. Lila's pulse raced. Her breath caught. Somewhere deep inside she already knew. Her life was about to change forever. The sound of engines echoed down the narrow dirt road that led to Lila's crumbling home. Through the dusty window, she saw 3 black luxury cars glide to a stop in front of the porch. Sleek, expensive, and completely out of place in this forgotten part of town. Doors opened in unison, and men in black suits stepped out, their movements sharp, disciplined. Ryan stumbled out of the house, the smell of alcohol clinging to him, shouting, "What's the meaning of this? Who the hell are you?" Then from the lead car, the man from the helicopter emerged. Tall, controlled, and dangerous in his calm. His eyes found Ryan immediately. "Hello, brother," he said evenly. His tone a mixture of disdain and finality. The word hung in the air like thunder. "Brother." The villagers who had gathered along the road went silent. Lila's heart skipped. She looked from one man to the other. The resemblance was unmistakable. "Adrian Cole," the stranger continued, slipping off his gloves. "I came to settle old debts." His gaze shifted to Lila, resting briefly on her bruised cheek and trembling form. The warmth in his eyes darkened to quiet fury. Ryan tried to laugh, though his voice cracked. "You think you can just walk in after all these years?" Adrian nodded to his men. They began unloading briefcases and thick folders from the cars. "We'll talk inside," he said coldly. And for the first time since Lila had known him, Ryan looked genuinely afraid. The living room, once filled with the echoes of Lila's cries, now buzzed with a different kind of tension, the heavy, suffocating kind that precedes reckoning. Adrian stood tall in the center of the room, a quiet storm in a tailored suit. His men spread out stacks of folders and photographs across the table, each piece of evidence a dagger pointed at Ryan's crumbling pride. "You've been busy," Adrian said, his voice calm but lethal. "Stealing from our family trust, forging contracts, laundering money through fake ventures. And when that wasn't enough, you turned your fists on the only person who still believed in you." Ryan's face twisted in anger and panic. "You don't know anything," he shouted, lunging forward. But before he could take a step, Adrian's guards blocked his path. "I know everything," Adrian replied coolly, sliding a USB drive across the table. "Every account, every lie, every bruise she's hidden for you." Lila stood near the doorway, trembling as the truth unraveled. She had always thought Ryan's cruelty was born from frustration. She never imagined it was part of a much deeper rot. Adrian turned toward her then, his eyes softening slightly. "You didn't just marry a broken man, Lila," he said quietly. "You married a thief of lives." Ryan spat in rage, but Adrian didn't flinch. "Touch her again," he warned, voice dropping to steel, "and you'll beg for a prison cell." That was when Lila's tears finally fell, not from fear, but from the shock of seeing Justice at last, standing in her living room. Adrian turned to his men with a single nod. "Get her out of here," he ordered. His tone left no room for argument, but when Lila instinctively stepped back, shaking her head, his expression softened. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. I don't want to cause more trouble." Adrian's gaze met hers, firm but kind. "You've suffered enough trouble for a lifetime," he said gently. "It's time someone stood for you." His words struck something deep within her, a truth she had long forgotten. She deserved safety. The guards guided her toward the waiting car. The moment she stepped outside, the humid air hit her face, mingled with the buzz of shocked whispers from the villagers who had gathered. They watched in disbelief as Ryan, now red-faced and cursing, was forced to his knees and handcuffed by Adrian's security team. His screams carried no weight anymore, just the hollow rage of a man losing everything. Lila paused before getting in, glancing back one last time. The house that had once been her prison looked small, broken, meaningless. She sank into the leather seat, her hands trembling as the car pulled away. Closing her eyes, she whispered a shaky prayer. "Thank you. Whoever sent that letter, thank you." The world Lila entered felt unreal, a place so quiet, so gentle, it almost frightened her. Adrian's seaside estate overlooked a vast stretch of turquoise water, where the waves whispered against the rocks instead of thunder roaring through her nights. The air smelled of salt and jasmine, and for the first time in years, no shouting, no breaking glass, no threats. Just peace. Doctors arrived the moment she did, tending to her bruises and checking her baby's heartbeat. Each soft, "You're healing well," felt like a small miracle. Therapists spoke to her kindly, never pressing too hard, helping her rebuild the confidence Ryan had beaten out of her. The days began to blur into soft, sunlit moments, slow meals on the terrace, quiet walks along the beach, nights where she slept deeply and safely. Adrian visited often, never intruding, always thoughtful. He would bring small gifts, a soft baby blanket, a basket of fresh fruit, or a novel he thought she'd enjoy. Sometimes he'd sit across from her, telling stories about his travels and the lessons learned from starting over. "You're safe now," he told her one evening, his voice steady and certain. For the first time in years, Lila believed it. The sound of the waves became her lullaby, washing away the echoes of pain, leaving only peace behind. Months later, under the golden glow of dawn, Lila cradles her newborn son in trembling arms. His small fingers curl around hers, fragile yet full of life. Tears fill her eyes, not of sorrow but of triumph. Every scar, every bruise, every sleepless night has led to this moment. "You'll never see what I saw," she whispers, kissing his forehead. "You'll grow up knowing love, not fear." Adrian stands nearby, silent yet deeply moved. He's witnessed her transformation, from a frightened woman trapped in despair to someone radiant with strength and purpose. With his guidance and resources, Lila channels her pain into action, founding the Haven of Grace, a sanctuary for women like her. The shelter's opening day draws reporters, activists, and survivors from across the country. Cameras flash as Lila steps to the podium, holding her baby close. "My name is Lila Cole," she begins, voice steady, "and I am not a victim, I am proof that courage heals." Her words echo through the hall, met with thunderous applause. Adrian watches from the side, pride glimmering in his eyes. The woman who once whispered prayers in the dark now stands before the world, unbroken, fearless, and free. Justice arrives with the weight of years long overdue. Ryan, once arrogant and untouchable, now sits in the courtroom, pale and trembling. The walls echo not with his threats but with the voices of truth. Adrian's lawyers present an unshakable case. Forged documents, stolen assets, medical records, and hidden recordings that expose the years of torment Ryan inflicted on Lila. Every word spoken chips away at the mask he once wore. Reporters fill the aisles, cameras flashing like lightning, capturing the man who terrorized a woman now turned symbol of strength. When the judge calls Lila to the stand, the courtroom falls silent. She walks with calm grace, her head held high. "Do you wish to say anything?" the prosecutor asks. Lila takes a breath and replies softly, "The truth doesn't need revenge. It just needs light." Her words spread across the internet within hours, inspiring millions. When the verdict is read, guilty on all counts, Ryan's face drains of color. The sentence is long and just. As he's led away in handcuffs, he looks back one last time, but Lila does not return the glance. The woman he once shattered now stands whole, radiant, and beyond his reach forever. The early morning air is cool and fragrant with sea salt as Lila walks along the cliffs, her baby nestled against her chest. The sun slowly rises over the horizon, casting gold and pink hues across the waves below. Adrian walks beside her in silence, his usual commanding presence softened by the peace of dawn. "You've come far," he says, his tone gentle, almost reverent. Lila looks at him, her eyes reflecting the morning light. "Because someone believed I could," she replies, her voice steady but full of emotion. Adrian exhales deeply, gazing at the ocean. "Your strength saved more lives than my money ever could," he admits. There's admiration in his words, not pity but genuine respect. They stand there quietly, two souls who endured their own storms and found purpose through pain. The baby stirs softly, cooing as a breeze brushes his tiny face. In the distance, the helicopter waits, its blades glinting under the sun. Lila takes one last look at the endless blue horizon, feeling something she once thought impossible: freedom. She smiles, a tear escaping down her cheek, not of sorrow but of release. The dawn feels like a promise, of peace, hope, and new beginnings. Years pass, but the memory of that fateful day never fades from the town's heart. People still speak in hushed awe about the helicopter that descended from the clouds, carrying the man who changed everything, the man who came not as a savior but as justice itself. The story becomes folklore, a tale mothers tell their daughters about courage, faith, and second chances. Lila, now a poised and compassionate leader of a global foundation, sits on her porch watching her son chase butterflies across the garden. His laughter fills the air, pure, innocent, unburdened by the past she fought so hard to escape. When a reporter asks if she believes in miracles, Lila smiles, her eyes glistening with quiet strength. "Sometimes miracles don't come from heaven," she says softly. "Sometimes they land in a helicopter." The camera lifts skyward, rotors echoing faintly, a sound forever tied to hope reborn.